So what's the king lift in the gym? Well, it's the barbell bench press. For better or for worse, that's what a lot of people will gravitate to, and one of the first things they'll actually think about when they think about going to the gym. But this isn't exactly the exercise that you should be starting with. For a lot of clients that are just beginning, I do recommend going from push-ups or dumbbell presses before you go into the barbell bench press. See, with most people will benefit simply from using dumbbells. That adds a lot more stability for each side, make sure that we're not overcorrecting with one side, and we have a tendency not to ego lift because of safety concerns. But once we've progressed to a point that we feel comfortable with dumbbells, once we've developed the stability, and once we've developed the strength, then we want to make sure that we push ourselves a little bit with the barbell bench press. Now, this isn't one that we want to make sure that we're ego lifting on, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So no matter what happens, whenever you're doing a barbell bench press, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you put safety first, okay? So with the barbell bench press, I'm sure everyone's seen something online where somebody's dropped a bar on themselves. It looks incredibly painful, it can be incredibly uncomfortable, or it can put people in danger if you start to move the weight side to side. So what I highly recommend, no matter what you're doing when you're doing a barbell bench press, is either A, have a spotter, a smart spotter who knows how to keep you safe and is paying attention to you, or make sure that you're setting up the safety racks in an appropriate way. So even if the safety racks are slightly higher than your chest and you have to reduce your range of motion, that is more safe than actually setting it down on your chest if you're struggling and not having a spotter. So what we want to make sure to do is always be safe, set up your squat or set up your racks as best as possible before going into your bench press. But let's go into the bench press tips that are going to help you not have to do that. So while the barbell bench press might be the king of the upper body movements, it's actually our lower body that's going to make a huge, huge difference when it comes to our ability to press. See, when our kinetic chain is totally active, we have a lot more power to perform these exercises. And that all starts with our legs. So when we set up in a bench press, a lot of times I'll see clients kind of dancing their feet around. So I highly advise you to work on making sure you keep your feet firmly planted, even if you're just driving through your heels more than anything else. So having a strong engagement through our legs is going to help keep our core tight, which is going to help keep our lats tight, which is going to help with our shoulder press in general. So don't underestimate the ability of your legs to actually help out. See, in fact, when we're struggling and we really need that extra little boost to get the bar up, essentially what we want to do is drive into our heels. That's going to engage our glutes. That's going to cause a slight round in our lower back, which is totally fine. And that's going to press our shoulders down into the bench even further. So as we have that extra leverage, we're going to be able to push that bar all the way up and re-rack it safely. So if you're struggling with your last rep or two, that's a great way to make sure that you're not putting the bar down on your chest or on the safety rack. You're actually getting the full rep. So tip number 2 actually plays off of tip number 1. See, when we're thinking about our bench press here, we want to make sure that we're engaging through our shoulder blades and our lats. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're not overextending with our shoulder, that we're reaching too far forward, because what that's going to do is it actually engages through our deltoid a lot more, and it lengthens our rotator cuff. So what we want to do is make sure that we actually retract our shoulder, and we're only extending out as far as that retraction will let our arm come out, so we're not reaching too far forward. So what that means is that we need to make sure that we're activating through our lats and our shoulder blades to pull our shoulders back and almost grip the bench with our shoulder blades. So keeping them back and making sure your shoulders are depressed or pulled down is going to be a great way to ensure that you're engaging through your chest. So if you've been feeling your bench press through your shoulders, changing just this one part will probably fix that issue. Again, every issue might have 100 different reasons, but try this out and see if that changes how it feels. Because again, we want to make sure that we're feeling it through the pec, not through our deltoids. So tip number 3 here is actually going to be our grip on the bar. So a lot of times when we're gripping on the bar, we'll actually put it along the front of our palm here. So when we put it along the front of our palm, and I'll show you a demonstration here in a second, is when we grip onto the bar, our hands come backwards because the range of motion, the center of gravity kind of pulls us back. So that puts our wrist into a flex position. position we're not super strong in. So as we're doing our bench press, we're kind of locked out in this position. And while we're doing lighter weights, it might not be a big issue. As we go up and over time, that can actually create quite a few different issues with your wrists and forearms and even into your elbow. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our grip in a stronger position to help us actually maximize our bench press. So what we're going to actually do is put the bar right along the palm of our hand here, so kind of in the meat of the thumb. So if we can do that, that not only creates a little bit of what's called external rotation, so our shoulder blades are involved again, playing off tip number 2 there. We're going to keep that bar. We're going to almost think about bending that bar to create tension through our lats, and it's going to keep our wrists a lot more neutral here. So quickly here, I did want to go through the 2 different grip types. So first and foremost, we're going to make sure that our hands are equally spread apart on either side of the bar. Utilize the little ring fingers here, or you use your thumbs to kind of manage once we have that. So this is the first grip I talked about, with just grabbing on with the top of your palms. So as we press out, you'll see that this can come right back. Right? So we don't want to be riding a motorcycle here. So as we come down, creates a little bit of looseness through our shoulders and through our wrists here. Okay? So again, we can kind of correct that by rolling our wrist forward, but then our press itself is basically just being held on by our thumbs. So what we do want to do is we want to utilize that meat of the thumb. So again, line up your bar, grip with the thumb, or grip along the meat of the thumb, hold on, and what you're going to do is essentially, to make sure that we're keeping the bar flat, we're going to bring our elbows in just slightly. That's going to create a little bit of tension there, as if we're bending the bar. So we have that bar bent, and as we come down, you'll notice my wrists are staying nice and flat. So as we press up, those wrists are nice and neutral, and we're keeping tension through the lats. Win-win, if you ask me. So while the bench press is probably one of the more overused exercises, it's highly beneficial, and it's such a great compound movement for our upper body when done properly. That's the key for almost every exercise. However, when we're utilizing chest exercises, we want to make sure that we're also utilizing a lot of back or pulling exercises to make sure that we're working through postural range of motion as well. So a lot of times in life, we have everything in front of us. Our shoulders are going to start rounding forward. So instead of having rounded shoulders and putting a lot of tension on your rotator cuffs, let's make sure that we're pulling our shoulders back. Let's make sure that we're staying in a nice, tall postural position and strengthening in that position as well to prevent shoulder injuries from occurring. So I hope you found these tips helpful today. If you have, make sure that you give this video a like and a share. If you have any other tips that you'd like to share as well to maximize your bench press, please drop them in a comment below. If you have any questions or concerns, again, comments are a great place to put those, or send them to me directly, rich@RKAthletics.ca, or you can follow me on any one of my social media accounts at RKAthletics1. So I hope you found that beneficial, and once again, guys, I hope you live life to the fullest with RK Athletics. So a quick little bonus tip here. I want to make sure that we're correcting a common issue I've seen with a lot of rowing. We talked about how important back exercises are after your bench press, so we want to make sure that we're talking about our ability to engage through the back as well. So one of the biggest things that I see that people do at the gym is actually overextend their shoulder. So they'll actually row in to the point that their shoulder is coming forward. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're keeping our shoulder back as best as possible and utilizing our shoulder blade. So what we want to do is essentially that retraction ability that we were talking about before. We want to pull our shoulder blade back. That's going to engage our lat muscles and our rotator cuff. And then we pull our elbow back and in towards our hip. So as we do that, we can engage through the back and not overextend our shoulder. So essentially just let your shoulder blade do the movement for you and make sure that you're utilizing that back. Now, if you're having troubles with that movement, please send me a message. More than happy to help, guys. Hope that helps, and I hope that this helps maximize your workout.